Oh, that sounds so professional.
Oh, you ruined it now.
It's all real. We're all real here.
Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, sisters. Welcome to today's TME. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna alhamdulillah wa nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyi'atina a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum, sisters. So, quick question. Tell me, in the chat box, do you have someone that you confide in when you have problems? When you have had a problem with someone, a discussion, a relationship not going too well for you? Do you have someone that you go to sometimes and you talk to? I'm just going to look in the chat box, see your responses. Yeah. Okay, so we have a confidant. Okay, alhamdulillah. What is it that you want in one word or two from the confidant when you are sharing that problem, that situation, that thing that happened that you just kind of need to talk it through with someone? Think about it for a minute before you reply. Yes, advice sometimes, understanding, right? Honesty, to be listened to, for them to guide you to Allah, validation, sympathy, right? A shoulder to cry on, some sympathy to make sense of it all, some help, a good listener. Yeah. To be advised, to be direct in the circumstance and situation, to get help out of everything. No judgment, right? And that is all of us, right? That's why they all sound so similar. We're looking for someone to listen to us, to understand us, not to judge us. And then some advice as to where we've gone wrong. However, let me ask you another question. Have you ever had a dispute with someone? You've talked to someone else about it. So you had a dispute with person A, but you've gone to person B to talk to about it. See, I didn't sat on them for long. So you've had a dispute with person A and you've gone to person B to speak to about it, right? And person B, you're telling them your point of view. You're telling them what that person did, what that person said, how you felt, how hurt you felt. You know, you're not sure what to do. You're not sure how to fix it. What can you do? What should they have done? Is that how the conversation kind of goes? And if it goes differently, tell me. Yeah. Two more yeses. Are you with me? Yeah. Okay. But I'm sure if you're like me, you try not to talk to many people. You try not to confide in many people. You try not to say too much and not to speak badly of anyone, right? We're all trying to do that. Here's what happened to me, and I thought, you know what? I wanted to share this story with you. A few years ago, I had a dispute with a very good friend of mine where kind of like, we weren't seeing eye to eye on stuff. And in the end, our friendship just broke up and just came to a head. It was almost like, should we talk about it? Should we try and fix it? But at that point, I think we both felt like it's too much hassle. So it kind of just went our own way. But I had created after that, because we didn't really talk, we could just see that tension was rising. It's like, she said a few things I didn't like. I'd said a few things that maybe she didn't like. We could see the tension building. So we kind of just went our own way. But I had created a story in my mind as to why she did what she did. I had created a story in my mind of how she had kind of not understood me, not been there for me, given up on me. I had seen it very much from the lens of what What word do you hear me using in what I'm telling you? What word is throughout that? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you hear it? Yes. Sharon says I. Meru says me. I saw it very much from the lens of me. What you did to me, how you didn't understand me, what you didn't do for me, what you didn't give me, that sort of lens. I really looked at it from a victim mentality. I took it very personally, and I felt really, really hurt. And so even when I wanted to let it go in my heart, I was still kind of like, okay, fine, I forgive you for treating me badly. So that when I actually let it go, I was kind of going, okay, I forgive you. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. I'm sure there was good in it. And that took me so far, but there was still a bit of an issue there. So if ever once in a while I'd bump into it, felt awkward still slightly. I hadn't let go quiet. And do you know what that feels like when you don't quite let go? When you meet that person or you think of that person, but really you're actually thinking about a moment in time where something happened. What we call this is where you left yourself. And I often ask my clients, where have you left yourself? Because often in relationships, we've left ourselves somewhere in the past, at an incident, at a moment where we didn't quite move on from that. And so when you keep thinking of them, you're not seeing them, you're seeing what happened. That's where you left yourself. And I had left myself there. Even though I tried to forgive, I had left myself there. And recently it had come to me that I need to I need to kind of get closure. Like Sharon says, closure. I needed to get closure on this because I felt something was there. Like Ramadan was here and I really don't want anything in my heart. I don't want to have any kind of bad endings with anyone. I really don't want to have these little messes, and so being conscious, wanting to purify my heart, knowing that these are the things that hold you back, somewhere there was something there, I didn't understand it. I made contact. And I did it actually, and I tried Istikhara first, and I did it, and we didn't manage to speak, and then eventually, we were trying and we were missing each other. I messaged her, and look at that, subhanAllah, Allah willed it that we actually spoke by message. And actually, I sent it after Fajr time, which, I had a really quiet mind at that point. I find I'm purest. My thoughts and my heart is purest at that time. And as I was writing the message, something happened. Something happened which I believe happened from Haqq. I saw something I hadn't seen before. I saw that perhaps, because we were going to have a discussion, you see, and then in the end, rather than have the discussion to kind of go, look, these are my issues and this is your issue, rather than doing that, she had sent me a message saying, you know what, I think it's better that we end our friendship. Let's just take a break from this friendship, and if it's meant to be, we'll come back to it. I was really hurt by that, but at the same time, to hide my vulnerability, I replied, this was good 4 or 5 years ago. I replied, yeah, I was thinking the same thing too. Now that wasn't true, right? And I had then, a few years later, maybe sent her a message saying, for whatever's happened, it's a little bit, okay, I'm humbling myself here to admit it, that I said, I forgive you, right? I should have said, I'm sorry, but I couldn't see back then what I had to be sorry for. So while I was trying to get closure, I forgive you, but I didn't say I'm sorry because I really couldn't see it. So anyway, so that's the background. As I'm writing the message, 3 things occurred to me. The first thing was, maybe we didn't have that conversation because she was trying to protect me. I was in a really vulnerable state at that point. My relationships were difficult everywhere. It's before I got coaching, before I became a coach. And I was in a really difficult place. And so then it struck me, perhaps we didn't have the conversation because she didn't think maybe she would be too much for me. Maybe she'd rather I thought bad of her, but it was better than for her to tell me things I wasn't ready to hear. So I wrote that in the message. I said, I'm not sure why this ended really, but at the same time, I think maybe if it was that you thought I wasn't strong enough to hear the truth, then if that was the case, I thank you for that. Because now looking back, maybe I wasn't. The second thing I then went on to say was, forgive me when I messaged you to say I'm sorry, because at that point I couldn't see what I had done in this part. I hadn't said sorry for my part in this, and now I can see my part in this. I can see that I might have been more kind of a bit more needy. I was at that point, I was really needy of just wanting people to love me and be there for me. I didn't realize it, but that can push people away. That's why in these sessions we keep bringing us all back to, we only need Allah, we only need Allah, because when we need others, though we try and give them a lot, we want a lot, and that wanting a lot can add pressure. That wanting a lot can push people away. So I acknowledged this, and I acknowledged that, you know what, maybe it was that in me. I recognize that now in me. Maybe that's what it was, and if it was that, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I've caused you any difficulty. And I thank you for the good that you brought to our friendship. And I pray, you know, I pray for good for you. And I left it there. I got such an amazing response, subhanAllah. She said it brought tears to her eyes that, yes, it was those things, but she didn't have the heart to tell me. She wanted to protect me, but she couldn't be there to hold it for me anymore. Like, she couldn't deal with it anymore, but she couldn't hold it anymore. And I guess, yeah, and she just explained her position, that as at times, yes, she took that position herself because she was scared of getting hurt, of it going wrong, that we'd have an argument at some point. So she had acknowledged that even herself, she does that fight or flight, and she'd rather than fight, yes, this is 5 years later, you know, she just left. She just kind of flighted, right? And she recognizes that in her, and also that she tries to fix people's problems, and yet that it wasn't really for her to fix. So it was frustrating her that she couldn't fix my problem. So she acknowledged what was her part in it at that point. And actually, what I saw then was not only from her point, like I tried to understand her point of view, but then when she explained it, I really saw it. That yes, she acknowledged her own weaknesses, but she also acknowledged she was wanting good for me. For 5 years, I didn't see that at all. And in fact, the couple of people, it wasn't many people, but the couple of people I spoke about it to had only had my point of view. Well, maybe it was this, maybe she couldn't take that about me, maybe this, maybe that. And I thought, wow, now I have to go back and actually rectify it. It was just 2 people, but you know what I had said, because that wasn't the truth. That wasn't the truth. Now I understand the truth. And how often does this happen, my sisters, that you're in a dispute with someone, you're in a relationship with someone, you think one thing, just think of your closest, your small relationships, not like 5-year not talking, right? You're in this small relationship, like your everyday relationships, I mean, and you get really angry. And then when you two talk about it, you really understand the other person. You can really understand what happened, what they were thinking. You might not agree with what they did. Like, you know, did you have to fight or flight? Did you have to try and fix me? No. But you can understand. When you can understand, you can let go. Right? You don't have to agree, but you can let go. How often when we are at that point where, okay, let's just talk about it. I understand you, you understand me. Okay, we can move forward. That's often where closure happens. Do you agree? Are you so immersed in the story? You forgot where your keypad is. Type for me, sisters. Yes. Okay. A few more yeses. Definitely. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Right. So alhamdulillah, a eureka moment, Sharon. Alhamdulillah. So here's what it is. And here's how it ties into today's session. Basic psychology, kind of little bit training, is when something happens, we either see it through a kind of a holistic lens of, okay, but what was going on with you? What was going on with me? What does Allah want from us? You know, what were the outside, things that were going on at the same time? You see it holistically. At that point, you reach understanding. But very often, when we're upset, it's because we're seeing it through the lens of me. Me, 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 me. That's what I saw. We create a story from what we don't know. I didn't know what had happened. I created a story. But through my victim mentality lens, I was only ever going to see myself as a victim who was being hard done by. I wanted to be understood. I wanted to be, so many things, but it was all about me, what I wanted, what I wanted, what I wanted. And when we're seeing that lens, and I want you to be really aware of it in these moments when you're upset, when you've been hurt, when someone's treated you in a way you didn't want, I want you to be aware of your lens. Are you looking at it holistically or through the lens of me, me, me? Because sisters, the lens of me, me, me is never the lens of the truth. It's never the lens of the truth. In fact, we get skewered, things can drag on for a long time, we don't give ourselves our best behavior, and it becomes something that may become a barrier for us on the day of judgment because we're not resolving issues. We don't want to leave it to the day of judgment to resolve because we've both been held back before we can enter Jannah in order to resolve our issues. We want to resolve our issues now. But really, we can only really do that when we see the truth. And at this point, I want to bring you to Allah's most beautiful name, Haqq. Allah himself calls himself Haqq, the absolute truth, the reality. Okay? In his existence is undeniable and nothing else can exist except through him. His words are truth, the meeting with him is truth. So there's all the aspects of truth. His book is true, his religion is true, the truth. So there's that aspect of Allah, that he's the truth, the reality, the just, the correct. Right? Everything about Allah is true, genuine, real. If we're ever away from there, then we are not seeing reality. We're not seeing truth. When we're not seeing truth, that's always going to cause us difficulty. We're always going to be unsettled. Now, I think we all here because we know Allah's word is the truth. We know Allah is the truth. We know that the Quran is Allah's words, and his religion, his messengers, they're all the truth. That we know. And I wasn't going to spend too long on that because I think we all know that. But how does that play out in our lives? How can we live by that name? And the thing that came to me was for us to know when we're seeing the truth and when we're not seeing the truth. Because part of seeing the truth, you suddenly become more God conscious. When I saw the truth, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to seek forgiveness. I need to ask Allah for help with this. I need to, seek Allah's pleasure. So when you look for the truth, you will find Allah. And in your difficult, challenging relationships and the disputes, can we look for the truth then? So that we can find Allah and respond in a way that Allah will be pleased with us. Can we look for the truth? Now there's a dua that on the Understanding Muslim that we'll put on, Understanding Quran that we'll put on the link, that they quote, but they don't give the reference, but it's beautiful. The dua is, "Oh Allah, enable me to see the truth as truth and give me the ability to follow it, and enable me to see falsehood and as false and give me the ability to refrain from it." See, how can we take correct action when we are seeing falsehood? What is false? The me, me, me story. What is false is when we get stuck in the past and we think that somehow is still affecting us now. You know, that thing happened in the past. The reason I was still thinking about it was unresolved for me. You know, so rather than blaming, you know, my friend for what had happened and how she was making me feel, rather than going down that, in fact, it was because it was unresolved. I hadn't seen the truth there. There was more for me to do. It wasn't just going away. So when we find that there's, you know, something that we can't move on from, maybe there's something for us to see, and that's why we can't move on from it. Now, as you say, we can. Sharon says, "Can we only get closure if the other person wants to sit and talk it over? What if they don't want to talk?" Now, I got closure when I saw the truth, whether or not she replied to me. It was a blessing she did. As I sent it, I submitted it to Allah. Allah, you know, I give it to you. I'm doing my best to clear my path, to clear myself of any messiness that I've left in the back, behind me. I'm doing it for your pleasure. If I get a reply, alhamdulillah. If I don't get a reply, alhamdulillah. If I get a reply that says, well, you're the most worst person in the world, alhamdulillah. At that point, I was able to let it go, whether or not I got the reply. So do we need the other person to sit and talk it over? No. There's another person in my family who I've had a dispute with. I don't have disputes, honestly. If you know me, you would know I would. But someone's been, in my mind, very unfair to me. Very, very unfair to me. And, you know, given me a lot of, left a lot of responsibility on my head. And yet that's someone who doesn't want to talk. But what I have come to see by looking to Allah al-Haqq to show me the truth is that people only act that way, people only retreat, people only fight or flight when they are scared of getting hurt themselves, when they are feeling vulnerable themselves. So yeah, sometimes they're not ready to talk. But when you can see that that's the reason they would behave badly, because I hadn't done anything. So I was like, oh, in this case, I haven't seen that I had done anything, even when I was looking at the truth. So what I saw this time was, it's not about me. They're just in a really, really vulnerable and scared position right now. And they're really hurting. And so that's the way they're reacting, because they're hurting, because they can't see the truth about what's happened or the truth about me. Then I can let it go. This isn't about me. This is about you and your pain. And I pray that Allah al-Haqq shows you the truth, but heals your heart and gives you salam in your heart. So yeah, you can get closure without talking to anyone. Sometimes it's not about, it's not necessary to talk to someone unless you need to apologize. Right? But sometimes you can just let it go. And you don't need to speak because you let it go to Allah. But it's so much easier when you can see it from their lens. You can understand what they're going through. You might not agree, but you can tell, you can understand it's coming from a place of pain and hurt and self-protection and self-preservation, because they feel so bad or they're in a difficult position, as opposed to being about you. Sister Nilu said, what if the person is a part of your day-to-day life and their behavior is impacting the home in a negative and toxic way? Now, that's not to say, sister, that, you know, there aren't boundaries that need to be set. Where, you know, boundaries often are needed. In these cases, you know, I couldn't set a boundary because I hadn't let it go. So with the sister, there was no boundary to set, but with the family member, even if I was trying to set a boundary, I couldn't, because all I could see was how unfair you're being to me. Once I saw, actually, it's about you and where you're at, it made it a lot easier to get clarity, to see the truth, to know what to do, to know where to set the boundary. Right? It's different when you're seeing it with clarity, holistically, with the other person in the equation and Allah and what He wants from you. You can't control anyone, you can't change anyone. You might need to set your boundaries, you might need to take yourself out of that situation, but you're always going to have more clarity when you can stop seeing it through your me lens, and you see it through the holistic lens of, Allah, what do you want from me? Allah, show me the truth about this person. What are they going through? You can make dua for them. But you might need to remove yourself sometimes. And the boundaries, Sister Iram, depends on the situation. There's many different ways to set boundaries. Sometimes it's about saying it. Sometimes, it's about removing yourself. Sometimes it's just showing that you don't find what's been said acceptable. So it depends who it is and what the situation is. So it's hard for me to give you a blanket answer because that depends on each and every one. But actually, if we have clarity from Allah, if we can see the truth, it's always easier to know what to do. It becomes much, much easier. And at that point, actually, you can, after you've asked Al-Haqq to show you the truth, you can then ask your confidant, what am I not seeing? What is it that I need to do? You're not approaching them from a victim play mindset. You're not scared to hear the truth. You want to see the truth, even if that truth is something negative about yourself. It is better, sisters, to see it here than the hereafter. So if you are going to speak to a confidant, then yeah, surely do so. But ask Allah first, and then ask that person, tell me the truth. What do you see? But be aware they're just the person too. They might not see the truth. They might not see it either. If you're in a relationship which isn't, too difficult that you can talk, then the best way to reach understanding between one another is to say, look, can we talk about this? I'd like to share with you what I'm thinking, and I'd like to know what you're thinking. As soon as you do that, you show respect that I'm interested to know what you're thinking. I'm interested to understand you. The minute you show that, someone becomes open most of the time, unless they really don't know what the problem is or they really are scared to go there themselves, but they become open to talking to you. They become open to sharing what they're thinking because you're not judging it. You're just wanting to understand. So if you want understanding, give understanding. Show willingness to understand. Lubna says, what if I could see the truth and I'm aware that I need to ask for forgiveness, but I still choose to leave it with Al-Haqq to resolve it by making dua to make the other person forgive me without needing to talk to each other? I can't answer that for you, Lubna. Personally, in my situation, I find it humbling to seek forgiveness. And I would ask you the question, why is it that you don't want to ask for forgiveness? What holds you back? That might be interesting for you to look at. But it is humbling. It was very humbling. The victim mentality, however low you may feel, actually you put yourself quite on a pedestal because really you're wanting that person to put you first, to serve your need, to understand you. Yet you're not willing to put yourself on an equal footing that I need to understand you as well. So yeah, by understanding someone, we do humble ourselves. Lubna replies, my awareness that the other person still doesn't see the truth. How do you know? How do you know in that split second, by you seeking forgiveness, they see the truth? Maybe that sister didn't see the truth until she got my message. And then suddenly by seeing me look at what I brought to the problem, she saw in that moment. Maybe she just saw it in that moment where I know it's me as well. I fight or flight. Maybe she saw it only upon that moment. Who knows? We don't know what anyone sees. And even if we see it, whether we see it or not, we don't know where they're at. And as Dr. Amina says, that doesn't come from us seeing the truth. It comes from Allah, but we can only do our bit. Sister Meru says, SubhanAllah, we hide the truth of ourselves from ourselves, so that how can our confident know the truth of us? Allah is al-Basir and al-Haqq, and only He sees your truth. Yeah, even I hadn't seen that about myself. 5 years I hadn't seen it, hadn't reflected on it. And only if and when He shows you the truth can you overcome the victim mentality. Absolutely. And I'd say to you, sisters, you can overcome that by seeking His help and being self-aware. When you're playing back what happened, when you can't move on from that situation that happened, do you hear the me thoughts in your mind? Because then you will know that you are in victim mentality mode, which in some cases, you put yourself on the floor as if everyone treats you like a doormat. But in another place, you've heightened yourself because in another way, because now you want it to be about you and understanding you. Sister Famida says, and she quotes in Surah Fussilat, not equal are the good deed and the bad deed. Repel evil, that which is better. And then the one who is hostile to you will become a devoted friend. SubhanAllah. But none is granted it except those who are patient, and none is granted it except one having great fortune. SubhanAllah. That's ayah 34 and 35. Amazing. May we become like this. Ameen. So I'm at the end of my time, sisters, but I'd like to hear some feedback from you. And then whatever you put here, please put in a group as well. So copy and paste your message, because we love to hear it. But tell me, what's come up for you in what I've shared today? Because the point I wanted to make, and may Allah accept it from me, and may I have been able to convey that to you, was even we don't know the truth. We don't always see the truth. And that gets us stuck. I wish I could have gone more into Al-Haqq. There is more to read, but I'm running out of time and I wanted to make it practical. But we will send you the link on understanding Quran, Al-Haqq, and you can read up on it if you would like to, sister. But I just wanted to make it very relevant to when we don't see the truth. How can we look at it as if it's truth, as if it's fact? We tell others about it as if it's fact. And then you realize I saw that completely wrong. I didn't see that at all. Sister Oniza said that's something that happened to her as well. Alhamdulillah, did you, sister, see it very differently once you had when you saw the other person? Did it change for you? Because it's amazing how you can feel really, really upset and hurt. Yet, when you see the other person, you can feel real compassion, understanding, and letting go. Because we want to forgive, right? We want to let go. We want closure. We want to move on. But yet we hold on to falsehood. So how can we ever let go? But we don't even know we're holding on to falsehood. That's why I shared the story. So if there's a difficult relationship that you're struggling with, or that you've left unresolved, and you're looking for closure, then ask Haqq to show you the truth, because only He knows the truth, even in you and in that person. Sister Uniza said you'd gone to ask her for forgiveness many times, and then she realized, Alhamdulillah. See, how many times should we ask for forgiveness? For each of you, you're going to have to take that between you and Allah. I don't know the answer. Sometimes the first time I asked for forgiveness, like when I said I forgive you, that wasn't really asking for forgiveness. And people feel that when we're not really. So, or sometimes once is enough, but you've really let it go to Allah. Sister Ruxana says, may Allah open our hearts always to the truth, and may Allah protect all of our relationships. Ameen. And that's what we need. I pray that Allah shows us the truth. I pray that Allah shows us all the truth, so that we can lead the best life we can lead here, prepare to meet Allah in the best possible way. Okay, so on that note, sisters, I think we'll leave it there. Do share what's come up for you. Do share what you're seeing. I pray that it's been beneficial for you. Sister Dr. Amina, you wanted to share something before we end? Please. And I know that when you shared this with me, it really helped me to find understanding and peace in the family member situation. So please do share, sis.
Yeah, so I was looking at the meaning of Surah Maryam, and subhanAllah, I was stunned by what I was reading right in front of my eyes, and it touched me so deeply. And so I thought, it was quite relevant to what you were talking about when somebody hurts you, when they're not seeing the truth, actually. Okay, so it might be that you are seeing the truth, but they're not seeing the truth. So Ibrahim alayhi salam goes to his father and he says, Father, knowledge has not reached you. Knowledge that has not reached you has come to me. So follow me. I will guide you to an even path. So this is the son coming to his father. Father, do not worship Shaitan. Shaitan has rebelled against the Lord of mercy. Father, I fear that a punishment from the Lord of mercy may afflict you and that you may become Shaitan's companion in hellfire. His father answered, Abraham, do you reject my gods? I will stone you if you do not stop this. Keep out of my way. And this was Ibrahim alayhi salam's beautiful response, my sisters. If we learn nothing else, let us learn of the conduct of our forefather Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam responds, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Qala salamun alayk. Sa'astaghfiru laka rabbi. Innahu kana bi hafiyya. Ibrahim alayhi salam said, peace be with you. Peace be with you. I will beg my Lord to forgive you. He is always gracious to me. Subhanallah. And then he goes on to leave and he says, but for now I will leave you and the idols you all pray to. And I will pray to my Lord and trust that my prayer will not be in vain. Subhanallah. I was just so moved that when somebody wrongs you, when you know that you may know the truth and they're not seeing the truth, right? That this is the response. Peace be with you. Because we know that that person that is behaving in a way that is not correct, peace is not with them. Somebody who's peaceful is not mean, is not nasty, is not horrible, is not manipulative, is not controlling, is not angry. And so he sends salam on his father. And I will beg. He doesn't ask for his Lord to forgive him. He begs his Lord to forgive him. And he has so much trust in Allah, that Allah is gracious. And he trusts that his prayers will not be in vain.
SubhanAllah. And you know, when you shared that with me, actually, that's when I thought, I'm not going to worry about that family member understanding me. I'm actually going to start praying for them. And one of the best ways that you can overcome grudge, hurt, is to make dua for the other person. It's hard to do, sisters, because your me lens doesn't want you to. But if you can push through that and strive within yourself to make dua for the other person, not only will you find yourself much, much lighter, but the angels will say, Ameen. May you be given the same. So whether we seek forgiveness, if that's appropriate or not, but we then need to make dua for that person. So if you can't find closure, make dua for that person until Al-Haqq shows you and them the truth. At least make dua. I pray that this has given you some food for thought. You know, in these 10 days, we want to leave Ramadan trampling our egos. Exactly, Mary. We want to humble ourselves. We want to purify ourselves. We want to elevate ourselves in the sight of Allah. And that means we've got to clean our hearts. So I did want to touch on a difficult topic today. But it needs to be said. And you know, when you seek confidence, you know, you seek to confide in someone, you want someone that's going to tell you the truth as they see it. you know, only Allah knows the whole truth. But as they see it, you know, the truth that you might not want to hear, but you need to hear. We all need these reminders because we're human. It happens to all of us. And I pray that it helps you, inshallah, to improve your relationships or overcome difficult relationships, or just move forward in a more peaceful, light-hearted, like your heart lighter, especially as we leave these 10 days of Ramadan. Because that's what we're doing, right? We're working on our hearts. Okay, sisters. On that point, I'm going to stop one question first. Yes, the recording is available. Sometimes, one sister says, sometimes you want to ask for forgiveness and move on, but like you said, it's hard when the other person doesn't. But yes, the best thing you can do is make dua for them, and you've tried this, and make their heart lighter, and makes your heart lighter. Yes, like if you've sought forgiveness, you've got to leave that with Allah, because you're doing it for Allah. Are you seeking that forgiveness so that they can forgive you back or be okay with you? Or are you seeking that forgiveness because you want Allah to see that you've sought that forgiveness, that you want Allah to witness that you've done the best that you can? Then you leave the result with Allah. You have to leave the result with Allah. So don't seek the forgiveness because you then want, like I had to even control my own heart and say, no, it doesn't matter if I get a reply or not. It doesn't matter if things resolve or not. I have to leave that with Allah. But I am doing what I'm doing, and I had to keep reminding myself I'm doing it only for the sake of Allah. Allah, whatever result you give, give me the best result. You know best what's good for me. So Sister Sharon says, I like what you said about if you can't move on, then there is something about myself I'm not seeing. And Sister Mary says, would you rather have the response of the person or the response of Allah? Exactly. And would you rather wait to resolve this on the day of judgment when everyone else is being allowed into Jannah and you're having to be held back, or would you rather resolve it here? So seeking forgiveness for Allah to see what I'm doing for His sake, this is your takeaway. Alhamdulillah. And that's great. Alhamdulillah. Okay, we're going to leave it there because I don't want to keep you guys longer. I nearly kept it to half an hour today. Alhamdulillah. I didn't want to keep you guys. You've got a lot to be getting on with, special nights. Alhamdulillah. We'll end it there, my sisters. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu anna la ilaha illa anta. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear sisters.